Good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved, immortal beings, and good-looking people. Remember, you're good-looking, so I was looking for it, finding the good. You found good in abundance because you tune in consciously and conscientiously to Ion Las Vegas, where we discuss the most energetic, most inspiring, interesting ideas and people here. Let me tell you something. I'm privileged to speak to millions of people every month through my podcasts, and I do in-person events, 1,000 people at a time here in Henderson, Nevada. And whenever I mention around the world that I am close to a city called two words, Las Vegas, people lean in, open up their ears, and say, "Tell me more." Everybody in the world has heard about Las Vegas. Let me tell you an interesting data point about this place, Las Vegas. If you take the entire population of New York City, add in the entire population of Chicago, add in the entire population of Los Angeles, and then add in the entire population of the state of Florida, it doesn't equal the number of people that come to Las Vegas in a year. 41 million people come here. And you know why they come here? It's not for gambling and sex. Those are nice things. Energy, stuff. Even you can be productive. There's so much happening here in Las Vegas. That's why I'm honored, privileged to have with us today one of the more interesting people you will ever encounter. And his name is wonderful Ralph Pezzullo. Welcome, fabulous Ralph, to Ion Las Vegas.
Very fantastic introduction. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Okay, if I started telling everybody about all the things you've done, accomplished, and want to do, it would take the rest of the show. I will give some data points. Number one, he's written over 30 books. He's an award-winning playwright and a screenwriter, a podcast host. He was born in New York City, but he grew up around the world. You know why? Because we used to call him an army brat, but basically he's a diplomat brat. His father was a U.S. diplomat, and he now lives in Los Angeles and thinking about relocating. That's another story. So, Ralph, we're just going to dig right in because you bring to bear several disciplines all at once: intellectual, artistic, and a good guy. So let's talk about something that I am deeply interested in, other people as well. You call it the hybrid warfare that's being waged against the United States.
Yes.
Okay, that's a mouthful. What the heck does that mean?
Well, it means that that the old style of warfare where you go on the battlefield and you shoot weapons and missiles at one another is sort of out of vogue right now. And currently we are being attacked. Our country is being attacked by a coalition of enemies, China, Venezuela, Cuba, Russia, China, who are trying to undermine our institutions. And they do it in sneaky ways, various different ways. One of them is trying to control the electronic voting system that we all use and every democracies all across the world use. Also, sending drugs into our country. Also, funding nonprofit institutions that divide us, that we see people demonstrating in the street and so on. A lot of this is not natural. Various, and stealing intellectual properties from us.
Well, first of all, and I'm going to say it in this way.
Yeah.
It's not uncommon. Matter of fact, it's part of the worldview of communist-run totalitarian countries to do this. This is part of their mission.
This is what
they're not denying. It's not that China says, "Well, I'm going to build China."
Right.
Part of their mission statement, if I'm not incorrect, is to say, "Well, we want to spread this, and that means in order for us to spread it, we have to undermine the ones who are not." And of course, the greatest barrier to their success, thankfully, is the United States of America and what I'll call the American mindset. And it's dependent on three things: freedom, free enterprise, and limited government. Is that fair to say?
That's very fair to say, Barry. That's absolutely on point. Yeah, right.
So I want to harken back, though, to something and say that this is not a new phenomenon. I'll tell you why. I am passionately involved with history. And I remember, even though I wasn't there physically, in the 19 teens and 20s, when the Russian Revolution had taken hold and such, and communism was sort of on the march again for the first time, we had a lot of socialist communists in the United States. Now,
Yes.
interesting enough, primarily in those days in the Italian community.
Uh-huh.
People were coming, the famous Sacco Vincenti's, and saying they
Right.
weren't isolated cases. They were avowed communists, and Jews figured prominently in that group. But
Uh-huh.
they were avowed communists who came here not so much to hurt Americans, but to hurt the American system.
Yes.
And so I see this. What's happened is that we won that first war, or that first series of battles,
Uh-huh.
and now we're a century later, and we're facing them again. Is that accurate?
I think that's very accurate. Yes, it's a philosophy that hasn't gone. It still remains. We are, we for various different reasons we sort of assume that it's not real anymore, or that it's not as dangerous as it was, but it remains, and it is. You can see signs of it all over all in so many areas.
Well, let's talk about one that you mentioned very specifically, and it is, I think, the great genius of America and our greatest weakness, and our enemies know it.
Yep.
Our greatest genius is speak out, freedom of speech.
Right.
Do what you need to do to project your viewpoint. So you have nonprofits that are funded by countries or very wealthy people. I can name names. We don't have to right now. That are literally paying people to be on the street. And some of them get paid very little, like $20 an hour.
Right.
Some of them are professionals and getting paid many tens of thousands of dollars. Isn't that right?
This is correct. This is correct. Yes. I mean, these people are clever. They understand that most people view the world through television. They're not out and about the way they used to be as much. And so they know how to manipulate people through their presence on television. So they stage riots, they stage demonstrations. They make it seem as though the country is just enveloped in chaos. And that is not an accurate picture. This is something that they're projecting onto us, trying to make us look as though we're divided, as though the races don't get along, the sexes don't get along. This is all deliberate. And I think a lot of people have the perception, oh my God, the country is in terrible shape. We're divided. We hate each other. And this is not real. This is not the reality. This is a reality that our enemies are projecting on us.
Oh, first of all, Ralph, thank you. What you're saying is, hey, people, wake up. What you're seeing is not true. We are, let's call it 95% getting along, because you know why? We've come so far in the relationships of races. We've come so far in relationship of sexes. We've come so far in relationships of what, again, the American ideal. This country is so powerfully good.
Yes.
I'm going to emphasize that word again. We are powerfully good. We're not just good, we're powerfully good. And the reason we're powerfully good is because we do have an ethos that emphasizes giving, helping, sharing. And I want to speak about something, I have to go back in history. I mentioned 100 years ago. You can take something that was very major in my life was, 1980 in Chicago. Those riots, that upsetting of the Democratic National Convention was, I think, a watershed moment
Uh-huh.
because it enabled the left wing to bring itself to television, as you said.
Yeah.
And they were Democrat. They were going against Democrats. So forget Democrat, Republican.
Yeah.
People have this false impression that they're in battle. No, they're not.
Yeah.
It's the haters that will go after anybody, as
Yeah.
they did in 1980. So I need for you to talk about a little bit more. I'm just going to mention something funny. There was a television show that you and I both watched called Get Smart. Remember Get Smart?
Yes.
It was
Yeah.
a satire about spies and such like that. Suffice it to say, the group that they were fighting was called Chaos.
Yes.
Chaos.
Yes. Exactly.
And that's exactly what you're talking. So tell us,
Yes.
really, is this what is happening? People want to sow chaos?
Yes. I mean, this is a way, like I said, our enemies are, they're clever and they're organized and they spend a lot of money on this. And what they're trying to do is divide us, make us look weak, make us feel as though there's something wrong with our country. This is not accidental. This is funded. And I can talk about, I've recently written a book called Stolen Elections. Here's a copy of it.
Okay, by the way, everything is in the show notes. You don't have to worry about writing anything down. It's all in the show notes.
Okay.
And by the way, when Ralph writes a book, he doesn't write a book and just put in his own thoughts. Everything is documented and real and footnoted. I mean, no offense, but Ralph is a nut when it comes to this stuff. I mean, a good nut. He is deliberate, right, Ralph?
This is correct. So about a year and a half ago, I was approached by two government whistleblowers. Now, government whistleblowers are people who have, particular expertise, and they're given a license by the government to, to do investigations. These two gentlemen were doing investigations in the area of asset recovery from drug cartels overseas.
Oh, good.
And they came across, one of them is a former CIA operative. The other one is an expert in Latin American affairs. And they came across, through the sources that they recruited within these criminal organizations, they came across evidence of election fraud, stealing elections, using software that was created in Venezuela. And what happened was that Hugo Chavez was a leftist leader, military leader, who was elected in Venezuela in 1998. In 2004, he faced a referendum. He had nationalized a lot of industries. He was not particularly popular. So he organized a referendum, and his Cuban partners, who he was very close to Fidel Castro, told him, "Hey, Hugo, you're going to lose. The polls are very much against you. You're going to lose." And he said, "Well, what do I do? What do I do?"
Wait a minute, Ralph.
Yeah.
That cliffhanger, I want you to hold right there, because
Okay.
we have, thank God, wonderful sponsors that love our show, and we wouldn't have them on if we didn't vet them, think they're worthy of your attention. So
Okay.
we'll be right back after this brief message. Don't go away.
Okay.
Any business leader who has stood in front of potential investors can tell you, creating a vivid, compelling vision of the future can be the difference between bankruptcy and billions. If you can move people with words, you can practically will things into existence. Something that seems impossible can be made to seem inevitable. But not with bullet points, with a well-crafted and well-told story. I spent 30 years in advertising, creating stories for giant brands, universities, and governments, and changing people's hearts and minds. And over those years, I accumulated a treasure chest of insights about how to entertain and inspire and move people. And I think I can teach you. Can you think of a tool more powerful than human speech? See how your value changes when you start to master the oldest human art form.
good day, beautiful, bountiful, beloved immortal beings, and good-looking people. Maybe good-looking because you're always looking for and finding the good. Our cup runneth over with good. His name is Ralph Pezzullo. And what a story he's telling us. Venezuela, if I'm incorrect, you'll correct me on this, Ralph. Venezuela is a very fascinating country in that at one time it was one of the wealthiest countries in the world, not just in Latin America, one of the wealthiest countries in the world, one of the happiest countries in the world, until the overthrow by Chavez. And what he did to prop up his coup was that he brought in Cuban troops. Cuba had been exporting their troops at places around the world. They were in Angola, they were in Venezuela, and they are the army underneath the army.
Yes.
These dictators in power. If that's correct, isn't it, Ralph?
Yes. Hugo Chavez is an interesting case. He was an illegitimate child, and his father rejected him because his mother had gotten pregnant by another man. And so his father rejected him. He always had a problem. And Fidel Castro seized on that and became sort of his father figure and gave him advice daily. They were in touch daily, bought him a house in Havana near his so that Castro could come to Havana whenever he wanted. So going back to 2004, so there was going to be a referendum in Venezuela, and Fidel Castro told Hugo Chavez, "You're going to lose." And Hugo Chavez is like, "Well, what do I do? How do I stay in power?" And he goes, "Well, there's this new technology. It's a new thing. It's called electronic voting machines. And if you can get some engineers to install a program in these machines that can steal the election for you, maybe it will work. I mean, this is a new technology." So they recruited 3 Venezuelan engineers, gave them money, and sent them off, and they came up with a program. They didn't even have voting machines at that time, so they bought Olivetti calculating machines from Italy, and they installed this software in those machines, and lo and behold, it worked, and it stole the election for Hugo Chavez. He was thrilled. Castro was thrilled. So they decided, as you said before, Barry, Venezuela is a very rich country. It has the highest oil reserves in the world. It has gold. It has incredible natural resources. They give these 3 engineers $200 million, and they say, develop this software and let's see if we can use it to win elections in Latin America. Because Fidel Castro, a goal of his whole regime was to win over other governments in Latin America and extend his control. They install this software and it works. And they install leftist governments in Argentina, Nicaragua, Ecuador, Bolivia, and this is like a dream. I mean, the whole guerrilla model where you had to start a guerrilla warfare and it took years and casualties and recruiting people. This is easy. We just use voting machines with software and we can manipulate the results.
Right. And it looks so legitimate, right? Voting machines. We're in the new world order. This is great. Yeah.
Beautiful. This is beautiful because even when they audit, you should read my book. It gets into all the technology, but even when they audit the results, you cannot tell because the result has already been changed. So
let me just jump in and mention a couple of things here. One is that Venezuela has now been ruled by totalitarian people for, based on what you said, 27 years. So now we have, thank God, somebody in the White House that recognizes that, yes, in addition to the drugs that are being smuggled in and such, that's sort of low-level stuff. The real key is getting rid of the totalitarian regime so that Venezuela can be brought back to people. Venezuela can produce great wealth again for its own citizens' country and help us.
Yeah.
In other words, anything that is good for countries to become free of the communist yoke benefits the United States. And we saw an uprising in Argentina. People had enough of this horrible way of living with inflation at 250%, et cetera, et cetera. And you have a crazy guy who was an economist who had a buzzsaw and said, we're going to tear it down. And people just got fed up.
Yeah.
And rose up and overturned the results. And I think something, even another country recently, maybe it was Bolivia, I forget. However, the point is that Mr. Trump is focusing on Venezuela in more than just getting rid of, blowing up boats that are smuggling. I think it's really about Maduro out. Is that fair to say?
Yes. Yeah. Maduro and his regime, it's a criminal regime. And they have been funding a lot of the subversion activities that are happening in the United States, including election machines. So going back to my story, in 2006, they decided to introduce that technology into the United States. Since the first election that they ran with voting machines with software built in Argentina was 2008. The 2008 primary in Cook County. What's that?
I said, what's going to happen now?
Yeah, in Cook County, Illinois, where Obama ran against Hillary Clinton.
Cook County, by the way, just for world information, Cook County in Illinois, which is Cook County is part of near Chicago, is known for at least the past 100+ years as one of the most corrupt places in the world. One is a machine, a democratic machine, by basically, white people named Daley and controlling everything in Cook County, and then gave it over to black people who are now running in the same way.
Well, this is Hugo Chavez told his aides, some of his closest friends, in 2008, watch me, I'm going to elect the first African-American president in the United States. So they started in Cook County.
You're hearing this first. You're hearing this first right here.
So they through electronic, this software that was installed in voting machines, they ran the primary, the 2008 primary in Cook County, where Hillary Clinton, who had been Secretary of State, was a well-known figure, ran against a little-known first-term senator named Barack Obama. Barack Obama was way behind in the polls, and the Venezuelans were able to, using their software, tilt the balance, and Barack Obama won. That began the whole sort of a big story about, looking at Barack Obama. Who is this man who beat Hillary Clinton in Chicago? And this continued through the primary, and he won the Democratic nomination in 2008. Like, this was a huge surprise. This was the first election that the Venezuelans were able to control. They continued since 2008, the software that they developed in Venezuela in 2004, installed in voting machines in the United States. They have controlled every election since 2004, except 2024. And that is
what do we do as a country? What does Mr. Trump do to rid ourselves of this terrible disease called Venezuelan influence?
Well, that's why the president knows about all this. All the results of my book have been checked by the FBI and the Department of Justice, and that's why they are now starting to indict leaders of Venezuela. That's why we have warships off the coast of Venezuela, because they realize the amount of infiltration that Venezuela and their partners, Cuba, China, Iran, and Russia, have made into the United States. Part of what people don't understand that, for example, tren de l'Aragua is another word that we've heard. In the press, they have been portrayed as sort of like this benign gang, with guys with special talent.
Hardly benign. They are vicious killers.
They're vicious killers. They're trained killers who are go through a course in Venezuela. They came across the border during the Biden administration, and there's tens of thousands of them in the United States. That's why ICE is out on the streets looking for these people. They have the names of them. The people that I work with have provided them with those names, and they're tracking them down. And these aren't, maids or guys working at grocery stores and so on. These are trained operatives. Okay, that's just Venezuela. China has infiltrated a number of their own kinds of people. So this is a criminal cartel that is trying to undermine the United States, stealing our elections, causing chaos, drugs. Another part of Venezuela is called the criminal regime in Venezuela is called the Cartel del Sol. Now, a lot of people haven't heard of it, but they are the biggest transnational criminal organization in the world, probably the biggest one that the world has ever heard of, has ever experienced. They control all drug trafficking in the Western Hemisphere. They also have influence in Europe and the Middle East.
So you're saying they are more powerful and influential than Mexican drug cartels?
They run the Mexican drug cartel. The Mexican drug.
Wow, these are sweet people, aren't they, Ralph?
They're wonderful. They're wonderful.
So you're telling me, and we're telling our audience, for the first time you're hearing it here, I'm going to put words in your mouth. Trump understands this and is ready to get rid of them. Is that possible even?
He has told Maduro and the people around him, get out, leave. I'm coming after you. If you don't leave, I'm coming after you. He has told the Russians and he has told the Chinese, if you continue supporting this guy, you're going to have problems with the United States.
Wait a minute. Are you saying that the Monroe Doctrine actually means something now?
It suddenly has been revived, yes.
Woo! Wait. Now, by the way, this is a worldwide show. If you have never heard of the Monroe Doctrine, MONROE, go Google it, look it up, and understand that the Northern and Southern Hemisphere, when it comes to the Americas, it's our influence. We don't like outside influence, and we're here to clear it up. There's a new sheriff in town. Ralph, thank you. We have 3 quick questions for you, Ralph. Our time together is coming to a close. You ready?
Yes.
Number 1, will you come back again?
I absolutely will, Barry.
Woo! Number 2, Ralph Pezzullo.
Yes.
What is your most fervent desire?
My most fervent desire?
Yeah.
Peace and prosperity for all. And we are the center of that. We are the people who we embody that and we project that around the world. I've lived all over the world. Everybody looks to the United States as the beacon of freedom, free speech, opportunity. That's why they want to come here.
Peace and prosperity. Now, Ralph, in front of 222,800 people around the world, may I give you a hug?
Of course you can.
Let me tell you what HUG stands for. Heartfelt, unlimited giving. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
1, 2, 3. And you're listening to Eye on Las Vegas with your humble host, Barry Shaw, and amazing Ralph Pezzullo. Remember, this show is not about Ralph, great guy. It's about Barry, fabulous. It's about you becoming the best you. So go forth, share this with at least 5 people. You want to share with 50 or 100? That's great. 5 people so we can touch millions around the world. Spread the words of peace and prosperity. And we will see you on the next broadcast of Eye on Las Vegas. Ralph, don't go away. See you in just a bit.